have anti-stun artifacts or you're screwed. Okay, thank you so much for watching. ChaoShaoBao. Hello, ChaoShaoBao here, and today we are going to go over the new disaster for October, which is going to be Qiongqi. So I think I pronounced it right, I don't know. But this Qiongqi, there are 3 types of teams I'll go over. One with tier 5 CC, one with tier 5 Fondant, and then one without tier 5 Fondant or tier 5 CC. So be sure to look through the whole video to figure out which team best suits you, and let's get into it. So go over here on my computer. Oh, by the way, this guide is only for people who are over level 80. If you're not, your best bet is just to go full on DPS with some healers. But yeah, try your best, and if you want, you can look at this anyway, just for future reference. But let's get started. When attacked, there is a 40% probability of the attacker being stunned, and also there are 3 85% health AOE nukes, so they will attack the entire enemy, and then here are the timestamps for those. Also, Qiongqi does percent damage skills, so you probably don't want tank and don't want cautious FAs to help out your healer. She has a damage reduction skill. This is cleansable, and then there's also bleed, but it's really short, so as long as you heal it up, you'll be fine. She's also immune to bleed skill, so you want to avoid food souls that rely on bleed for their damage. For example, my turkey is 2-star, but it has no artifact. Even though he does a lot of damage, he doesn't do as much as other 5-star URs that I have. So we have some helpful utilities and some examples of food souls with those utilities. They're not limited to this list, however, I think these are the easiest ones to find and the ones that most people will be using. So these are not necessary, of course, but they will help out with the consistent ranking. So number 1, most definitely, is going to be stun immunity to refute key point 1, which is going to be our 40% probability of the attacker being stunned. So you really want to be careful with that, and so this is going to be the foundation of your team, whether that's going to be Candy Cane tier 5 or Fondant Cake tier 5 or your DPS with anti-stun in their artifacts. For example, my Natto has tier 3, so it would be anti-stun. Candy Cane makes all units immune to stun the entire battle. Fondant Cake only does 5 seconds of stun immunity per 15 seconds, so it's like 1/3 of the damage you would be getting with Candy Cane. However, it's still very helpful. And then, of course, your DPS with anti-stun are just always immune to stun. For your AOE invincibility, I would just use Candy Cane or Tangyuan, because those are... Osechi is like a limited edition food soul, and she's not very practical. This is to survive the nukes so that you have more battle time and therefore more damage. Also, you have the artifacts of Fondant, which can be found at tier 4, Rum at tier 1, and Boston Lobster also at tier 1. Anyway, we have a cleanser to remove the team debuffs. This is not as important, so it's not highlighted, but it still would be nice. Bibimbap, Nagishi Somen, and then Lava Kanji, and then it's probably going to be your most common one, and then Borscht if you have her. And then finally we have energy regen. This is just nice to utilize energy skills versus regular skills, because again, every time you attack, you have a chance of stunning. With higher attack skills to hit harder rather than hit more, it would be much more beneficial for your damage, so you won't hit that stun. So examples of energy regen can be found on basic skill of Candy Cane. I'm not sure about other examples, but I know that Candy Cane is definitely very accessible. And then energy skills of Rum, Butter Tea, and then Fruit Tart. Also the artifacts of Fondant tier 1/tier 3, and then Natto tier 3, tier 4. Okay, and then we finally have our team comps. So for point A, it's going to be if you have like a really good base foundation. However, for point B, it's going to be if you're decent, but it's not that good. This is with tier 5 Candy Cane. You might want to use Beer, CC tier 5, Brave or Rezo. Brave because it just makes you hit harder since you're going to be using your Beer, and CC already has a very good base attack speed at tier 5. 3 to 4 DPS, that includes Cleanse or Energy Regen, and then it would be Rezo or Hybrid. Of course, if you already have tier 5 Candy Cane, you probably already are ranking super well, and so you don't need to see this guide, but I'm just putting this out there. So Beer may or may not help, depends on the situation, better experiment. And then for your artifacts, prioritize skill damage. Maybe 1 or 2 times of resets for the RNG for the Invince, but if you run Natto tier 4 with Candy Cane, then it should be enough for CC. Anyway, with tier 5 Fondant Cake, which is the one I'm going to be running, if you have the resources to, you can use Beer. However, if you don't, you're going to be using Fondant tier 5 Rezo, 3 to 4 DPS, Cleanse, Energy Regen, Rezo, and then 0 to 1 Healer, Damage Booster. So Fondant already is a healer and a damage booster, but you might want an additional one so that you can survive easier and do more damage. But it depends on your situation again. Now, don't run Beer if your other DPS don't already have anti-stun. So like Natto tier 3 has anti-stun, so I maybe could run Beer, but I wouldn't do it because Beer silences and that wouldn't really help with my damage. Experiment to check though, maybe you can get by with it. Beer should be around 3-star plus with around 13 plus reso with team at 20k speed minimum. This is for like minimum efficiency. Of course, the higher you go, usually the better it'll be. Run artifacts that support basic attack damage instead of skill damage because you're still going to be stunned with your Fondant, and so it may not be best for you to go for skill damage, but you still can try it. Optional. This is just for me. I use DPS that also decrease defense or increase damage taken by the enemy, Bamboo Rice or B52. This is because I don't have enough good DPS yet, and so this Bamboo Rice decreasing the defense would be really helpful for me. And you may also find Fondant as an underperforming healer, so you can support with another healer, preferably a damage booster like Beep Bop Candy Cane, for more damage. And then if you have neither, you can choose to use 1 to 2 healers for Rezo, and 3 to 4 DPS that includes Cleanse and Energy Regen. But you want to use Brave instead of Rezo for these DPS, unless they are anti-stun, like Natto tier 3. This way, Brave will increase damage but will keep attack speed low, so less hits, but they will be harder. So less stun time. So yeah, that's just the 3 teams that I'm going to show you for this video, and let's get into it. For the first team, if you have tier 5 CC, you may want to go CC, and then you can go Beer, and then no tank, of course. You're gonna go DPS, DPS, DPS. Sounds good, right? And then you may want Rum for the energy cleanse, and then maybe Qiongqi for good DPS if you have his RD to tier 3 at least. And then if you don't have tier 5 Candy Cane, you're gonna go with me, which is gonna be tier 5 Fondant, and then I'm gonna go with defense decrease, Rum for energy. I'm not gonna go Qiongqi because he does bleed on his major, but I'm gonna go no tank and B52 and Natto. Natto has stun immunity, so I'm gonna keep him out of Rezo, and then of course you can reference the guide again if you want to. And then finally, if you have neither tier 5 Fondant nor tier 5 CC, then you're just gonna go 2 healers, 1 to 2. So maybe you can go Candy Cane still if you don't have her tier 5 because of her invincibility. If you need other invincibility, you can use Tongue Yuan, but I would probably just go like Sweet Tofu, to be honest. Sweet Tofu and then Tongue Yuan for if I didn't have CC, but Sweet Tofu and CC. Honestly, it's up to you, one of those combinations. And then I would just go, since my Natto has anti-stun, I would keep him in with Rezo, but the rest I would just put Brave, and then probably Brave, and then Brave. So I'm just going to go through my team and then show you the FAs and the artifacts that they're going to be using. So first off, I'm going to be using Bamboo Rice for his defense decrease on his basic and defense decrease on his energy. I'm going to have a Rezo on him because I do not want him to have a cautious or a brave one since I'm going to be using Fondant Cake. But if you had his artifact, then you can choose to use his Qiongqi 1 to boost basic attack or seal damage, whichever one works better. And then next I'm going to be using my big boy, which is my B52. I'm going to be putting a Rezo on him. His basic seal actually increases damage received by all enemies by 20%. So this is actually very helpful. This is why I choose him over like my Qiongqi. However, again, whatever works for you. If you have Qiongqi tier 3, it'd probably be better. And then his energy is plus damage. And then so I have him at good attack, full Rezo, 19k attack speed, and then for his artifact, I don't have his tier 1. So I don't know. I didn't know what artifacts were at the time, don't ask me. And then for Natto, since he is anti-stun, he's my only anti-stun unit, I'm going to be using a plus 14 Tsuchigumo, but I changed one of his lines to attack so that he deals more damage. Usually I would never go for hybrids, and I still wouldn't recommend you go for hybrids unless it's plus 15 up, but because Natto already has pretty good base attack speed, he gets to that mark and he's okay with it. For his skills, he has just single enemy stun and just really good DPS and then defense lowering on his energy, so that's really nice. And then for his Togies, I don't have a match here for yet. For his Togis, I'm going to be using the Dispel debuff, which is number 3, and then with number 1 for the Togi 2, reduce the attack of the enemy. This is every 20 seconds, and this one doesn't work because it's below 40%, and Disaster's never below 40% usually. And then this one is just pure damage, so I wanted something like an effect. For the Togi Node 1 though, you can choose to use this one. For general use, it's good to use the second one. However, I'm going to be using number 1 because it like self-heals for Natto. For this one, it gives invincibility to the defense ally, but since you're going to be dying from the AoE, it doesn't really matter if the one unit survives out of all of them. So I'm just going to be using this one to help Fondant with the healing. For Rum, I'm going to be using a Rezo, and then she just does good damage, and then she also has a wonderful energy regen on her energy skill. Her artifact tier 1, I'm going to be using the third one to give a chance of getting all allies invincible to survive those nukes. You can choose, don't choose number 1 because the world bosses never self-heal. And then for number 2, this is a bleed effect, and so Qiongqi will be immune to that anyway. So just use tier 3, the third one, and then you'll be fine. I'm not going to be using my Danpansan, my turkey, because he only does bleed on his basic and energy skills, and so they would be highly reduced in damage. Unless you have his tier 3 Artie, in which you probably can use him, because he has anti-stun on his tier 3 Artie. For my healer, finally, I'm going to go to Fondant. Right now, she has a +9. Healers don't need as much speed because they have their healing tree. And then for her artifact, you're going to go tier 1 for energy. You can still do, if you need help with healing or surviving, you can choose tier 1 or tier 2. But I'm just going to use the third one because it just works a lot better for me. Next, I'm going to be using, and these are good for surviving, and then this one also is good for stunning, but because it's a world boss, no CC works, and so I'm going to be using the third one. This one I'm going to use Antler because it gives all allies 4 points of energy per second, and it also increases their damage by 6.3%, so that's really nice. This one also helps for survivability if you need it, and this one dispels enemy buffs, so you don't need it for the world boss. For this one, I'm going to use Bushi because it makes all allies invincible and raises damage by 23%. You can try to use number 2, but that would be charming and that wouldn't help, but the attack would, and yeah, okay, don't use number 2 actually. Number 2 is like horrible because it increases the enemy's attack and it charms her, so that would just be stupid. And then the next one is going to be basic attack gives all allies 10 points of energy and increases skill damage by 7%, which is still good, but I want the invincibility just in case. And then finally, for my tier 5, I'm going to be using my Bushi. It's going to be all allies that are immune to stun. Basic skills have 12% chance, all allies invincible, 3 seconds, and then so this, and basic skills also are boosted by 12%. So this is going to be really helpful in increasing your damage, and especially that lovely immunity to stuns. So that's going to be my artifacts. And then so let's run this team. We're going to go Fondant for our captain because I want that energy, and then for Natto, and then I'm going to go Rum and Bamboo and then B52. Alright, looks good. And now we're going to go in. You can choose revive schools. If you are doing your 1 daily, you're going to choose, I know you can't see it right now, but it says like heat burn. This one's going to increase your damage the most. So I'm going to reset probably a couple times. I needed like 3 times. Oh, okay, never mind, actually no. Natto, he has a special skill on his tier 3 where he autofills someone's energy, and you need that person to be Rum so that she can use her energy skills and continue feeding energy into all of the rest of your teammates. This will give you the best results, and so I think we started with 53.52%. Qiongqi has 4.5 mil as 0.01% of her health, so once that goes down to 0.50, then I know that I did plus 4.5 mil, or yeah, okay. So it already went down to 0.51, so yeah, we'll start counting. Anyway, you see these skills, how this is going to be defense down and this is going to be all damage increased, that pitchfork. So that's B52's doing of his basic skill, and it's going to really help with the overall damage that is going to be carried out through Natto. And so that's going to be the first AoE, and we die, unfortunately. We can use your free revive, however, I'm probably going to reset afterward, because there are 2 more AoEs, and if we don't survive that, then we don't do as much damage because we don't survive the entire way. So very important that you try to reset once those AoEs come up. Also, it may be worth noting that you can play on ×1 when the AoEs come up, so you can see if your invincibility comes up or not, and so you can reset if you need to be. Oh, that was close. Okay. Alright, yeah. Good thing that invincibility works. Alright, we just survived the last AoE nuke. That was really sexy. The way the invincibility just kept everyone at full health. But yeah, so that's gonna be our final run, and then we'll see how well we did on damage. This is gonna be my first time using the hybrid one on Natto. Hopefully it works, it helps. 7.5 mil, not bad. Yeah, so these are our damage stats. That's a really clean number. So for 7.5 mil, I'm gonna get to 400 right before the boss ends. I usually get top 500 with Fondant Tier 5. Hopefully this helps you with your damage rankings. So, thank you so much for watching, and this is a Qiongqi guide.